engaging celebrity interviews, exciting updates from Christian filmmakers, movie reviews so you can choose your movies wisely, and so much more here on Faith on Film with Isaac Hernandez and Holly McClure.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Faith on Film. As always, we're so thankful that you're tuned in. Holly, how are you doing?
Oh, doing great. And I love the interviews today because, first of all, this movie about David that's getting ready to come out, House of David, you guys, it's going to be phenomenal. It's a series. I keep saying movie. It's a series.
It's a series.
But we had a chance to interview the two stars. Tell who we interviewed.
Well, actually, last week you interviewed, I don't even know how many people, and we ran out of time because there were so many people you got to interview. And so we had to send a couple of those interviews to today's show, and that is you'll be interviewing Ali Suliman and Ayelet Zur. Boy, those are some interesting names.
Names.
Yeah, and who do they play?
And King Saul and his wife. Now, the wife we didn't hear much about in the Bible, but you do hear much about it in the series because she has a very prominent role. And the actress who plays that, you guys have seen her in Angels and Demons and other movies. She's been around for a while, starring roles, but I just really loved her. I loved her vitality and vivaciousness. And the both of them together, it felt very realistic with their accents, like you're really talking to, people from that country and time period. It was just really fun.
Right. Well, I know we saw the trailer last week, but you know what? It's so good. Guess what? We're going to see it again this week before we go into the interviews, all right?
All right.
Can one stone change the course of history?
Cowards! Send me your champion! Goliath!
Can one act of defiance create the legend? I will tell you the story of David, a simple shepherd boy.
Why do my brothers get to fight? And I'm stuck here.
David, you are not a man of blood.
An outcast who became one of the most famous kings who ever lived.
God does not see what man sees. He sees into the heart. And you have the heart of a lion.
The Philistines have assembled. I saw the print of a hand, larger than a weaver's basket.
They have a giant. What?
My king, I will fight the giant.
Fight him with the same spirit you bring into this room.
We play music for my father. Now he chooses you as champion. How will you do this?
It's not about the greatness of the giant. It is about the greatness of God.
Are you afraid?
Terrified.
I believe in you.
So, as the fate of a people hangs in the balance, again I ask this question. Can one stone change the course of history?
Ali, welcome. I'm excited to be interviewing for this movie. I loved it, of course, and the whole series. This is going to be phenomenal. How did you feel when you were cast to play King Saul? I mean, this is a pretty iconic figure.
Well, it's not just a king, it's a king, different kind of king. So for me, it was challenging actually to play that role, and I am so fortunate and thankful to get the opportunity to play such role.
And working with both the Johns, John Gunn,
Yeah.
and both the director and the producer. Well, how was it working with them and their vision for this story? Were you excited about their vision for telling the story?
They are super excited, and this makes you really connected to it full time, because the passion and the way they are working, so they are so in the story, and the way they are really giving us the room and to bring from our own choices and to bring from our own to add for the characters. So it is really make you feel that you are part of the making, not just like an actor. So
Right, creating history with a character, really. Okay. You had a lot of, you had a wide emotional range, from happy and peaceful to angry to, what was one of the hardest or maybe your favorite scenes that you did?
Well, I can't really be specific at once, but one of the, let's say, like, hardest, I can't really tell, but I can tell you what I really liked.
Yes.
The scene when first time he met with David, Ahinoam, his wife, bring him up to play him, to make him really feel good. So this is the first time when he start his music, and with the song of Moses, and all of a sudden, like, silent.
Yes.
Back to his life and back to his heart, back to his to himself, to be a human. So this was one of the scenes that I love the most, and I find it like magical scene.
And Ayelet, you've been in a lot of films that I've seen you in and followed you in, and loved your the many different characters you played. But this one was very different, because we really don't hear a lot about the Queen of Saul. There's really not a lot said. So I feel like your character was taken and created. How was it to do this character, this timeless character?
It was great, because there was a little bit of creative freedom in the sense that we can choose for her a path. Since he's only mentioned 1.5 times in the Bible. The one time that she's mentioned fully is when she chooses Saul to be her husband. And I thought that really represents that woman really well. But to be honest, she's actually a very complicated woman, because she has, she goes through a losing her faith.
Yes.
In a way, and in a very painful way, because she cannot understand how a king who was anointed 3 times by God can be then not chosen suddenly, and she feels that she was betrayed, and that is a very strong driving force underneath everything that she does.
Yes.
And she becomes a person that protects her family at any price, and the throne at any price. She can be brutal in some ways.
But she was very important in the story, really, with the sons and telling the story of the sons and the family drama. Way more than what we read in the Bible, and that's why I enjoyed it. I love to see, maybe could have happened. This was her role. What was one of your favorite scenes? I have to ask you.
I think Ali just stole my favorite scene.
Actually, it's the one of the scenes, like, really the favorite for all of us.
Yeah, it's true. We have amazing scenes together.
Yes.
We have many, many beautiful scenes. I love the scene by the fire where, I try to calm him down and put him back in it. It's a beautiful scene. And I, ask him to come back to me when he loses his mind. But another scene that I love is when David comes and he sits down and he sings for the family, and we were all crying, to be honest.
Oh, great interviews. Again, folks, House of David, it's going to be coming out, and you can watch it. It's I love streaming because you can watch it over and over again. And this is the fun part about these series is you can see it. And I would advise it because I've watched it a couple of times and you catch new things in it and little innuendos. And it's such a powerful story. I mean, this is something everyone's, like I said, grown up with. You know, and so now to see these characters flesh out, and John Irwin and John Gunn, oh boy, am I proud of them. They've really done an amazing job with directing and producing. So I just loved it. Great interviews, and we look forward to seeing the series.
Yeah, and it's really cool that we're seeing more and more of these biblical epics come out. I mean, that it's something I think is fairly new, and I credit The Chosen for kind of setting the stage, don't you think?
I do too, Isaac. And the thing that The Chosen did was elevate it to a level where it's beautifully done. Yeah. And it's not cheesy looking. And it's something that all audiences would want to watch, whether you're of faith or not, because it looks interesting. Right. And that's how you want to do it. You want to do it with excellence. You want to do it to bring in all faith groups and all people to say, oh, what's this story about? And that's what they've done. And I'm very excited about it. It's a new level, I feel like, we're seeing, Isaac, in filmmaking and television making with the Christians. And I'm loving it. I love where we're at.
It is. And, it used to be that in the old days, when they would do these biblical films, they would kind of use the Bible as the exact script. And so it was really missing a lot of the depth of the characters. It would just, give the details of, okay, he did this, he took the, the Last Supper, but they never really gave them a personality. And that's kind of what The Chosen did. They gave characters a much deeper, broader personality, and so all these folks now are doing the same because he seems to have done the same on House of David.
It humanizes them. Yeah. Okay, you're like, okay, Saul, in the Bible, he's kind of mean and grumpy and revengeful, but but they build this character to where you understand what's hitting him from all different angles. And then the wife, you barely hear about her, but wouldn't she have played a pretty prominent part? Yes, because she chose Saul to be her husband. Saul was nothing. She's the one that came from royalty. So I love how they make, like I said, humanizes these, like you say, and we learn all the little, and maybe some are true and maybe some aren't. That's okay, because they stick with the word. They stick with the word.
Creative license, so long as it doesn't change the actual word. You're right. Well, while you were having fun interviewing all these people, I got to interview somebody that I'm very excited about because when I was at TBN, I used to get sent out to a lot of this man's crusades. This is an evangelist. His name is Murillo, and he's an evangelist. He actually used to do tent crusades, which was kind of cool.
Know him well, yes.
And I would get sent out to direct the television portion of it. But since I left TBN, almost 20 years ago, I really haven't seen him or anything. And so I was very excited to get an opportunity to get to talk to him again and interview him about a documentary that is coming out in theaters called, let me make sure I don't mess this up. It's called I Am Living Proof. And I've seen the documentary. It is absolutely fantastic. In fact, let's take a look at the trailer, and then we'll come back with me and Mario Murillo.
Colorado Springs, are you ready?
The promise that this tent holds is that the presence of God is there.
I didn't want anything to do with God. I looked at the tent and went, no, this is not for me.
You can be broken on the outside. You can be broken on the inside.
I was considering assisted suicide. It was black, truly.
Miracles are like magnets that draws people in because they say if that happened to them, maybe it will happen to me too.
I had doubts when I would be in the worst pain. And I remember saying, Lord, I believe, but help me with my unbelief.
This thing that's been growing inside of you is dying by the power of God right now.
One characteristic of what we call revival is that it's not the end. It's just the beginning.
Mario, welcome to Faith on Film.
Thank you, Isaac. I'm sure glad to be with an old friend.
I've
known you a long time.
I know. Back in, like 35 years ago or so, when I was with TBN, they used to send me to a lot of your crusades to direct the videotaping of it. But I've been gone from TBN for like 17, 18 years and really just have lost contact with a lot of folks. So I got very excited when I was approached with the idea of interviewing you.
I'm excited too, Isaac.
So listen, you apparently have gone from just doing these crusades to being a filmmaker. Can you tell us a little bit about I Am Living Proof?
We had 3 miracles that took place in Colorado Springs that were so compelling that it attracted a young filmmaker. Her name is Shane Gilbert. She's profoundly talented. She's won a lot of awards, and she saw some footage of these 3 healings and then ended up interviewing all 3 of them. And out of it came a story, and she put together what I think is a cinematic breakthrough. It's a phenomenal film, not even from a theological standpoint, just as an artistic work. It's the backstory of these 3 people and their journey to a healing from total, complete hopelessness. And, every husband has been said this by his wife. It's not what you said, it was how you said it. And that's Christian film has the same situation. It isn't what we say, it's how we say it. And the way this film says it leaves you walking through the journey of these 3 people until you're finally overwhelmed by the goodness and the power of God. It's for secular audiences as well. This is a movie you want to bring your friend to. And I want to say one last thing about it is I'm only on it for 5 minutes, Isaac. It's not a promotional film for our ministry at all. This totally glorifies Jesus. That's all it does, in a very artistic and powerful way.
Wow. Well, I remember when I did go to attend some of your crusades, just the miracles that would happen there. Are you saying that the Holy Spirit still works like that today, 20, 30 years later? Or has the Holy Spirit gone, you know what, you folks are a mess down there. I'm just going to kind of step away.
I really believe that the miracles were never dependent on our righteousness, as you know, and I'm not in any way disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is that in Matthew 9, when they let the man through the roof, and there he was lying there paralyzed, and Jesus looked because he had read the mind of the critics that were in the audience. And he said, does the Son of God have power on earth to forgive sin? So that you may know that the Son of God has power on earth to forgive sins, I say to the paralytic, be healed. And he got up. So the predication of miracles is the gospel. The gospel, Paul said in Romans 16, my mighty signs and wonders, I have fully preached the gospel. It's not about money. It's not about fame. It's not about having a mystical experience. It is an aspect of confirming the power of God to forgive sin and change lives. That's what it's all about, is winning souls.
Wow. Now, you said you focused on, was it three stories?
Yes.
What made these stories so special that you kind of felt these are the stories that have to be a part of this?
Well, for starters, 2 of the 3 were not even Christians at the moment of their healing. Stephen Connor was an atheist. And he tried to kill himself because of the physical condition. I don't want to give away too much of the story.
Sure.
But he was on every form of opioid available, sometimes 15 different painkillers, till he lived in the dark and finally decided to kill himself. And goodness. By a somewhat of a ruse, his friend said, you need to come to this tent. He thought it was a concert. And when he saw what it was, he turned around to leave. And at that moment, something happened that was unforgettable. And it's in the movie, and that's one. The other is Bree, who went down to 94 pounds. She was 5'10". Her body was cannibalizing itself. She had multiple forms of autoimmune diseases, nerve damage, and her stomach, she couldn't eat anything, and she became immobilized, bedridden. And she became so desperate that she asked someone to help carry her. So she arrived in a wheelchair, and out of total desperation, came to the front under our tower of speakers. And what happened next was astounding. And again, that's in the film. The third one is Mary, and she's a wonderful Christian. And the reason her story is so important in this film, because it shows a Christian seeking healing. And the process she went through, telling her children, I'm going to be healed. She couldn't hold her children. She was incapacitated. and she couldn't do anything. And she went through the scriptures and sought the miracle. She had a dream that she would be healed. She came to the tent 3 nights in a row. And what happened on the 3rd night was amazing. And again, you'll see it in the film.
Wow. Now, I had not intended to ask this question at all, but I don't know. I just felt like maybe I should, because there must be an answer to it. And if anybody has a good answer, it would be you. What about those that don't get healed? And the reason I say this is because I have a brother. Well, I had a brother who got sick with cancer, and he ended up passing away. I've never thought, oh, I guess, he was a sinner, or for some reason God didn't heal him. What would you say to somebody that would say, how come I didn't get healed? Or how come I'm not getting healed? Or how come my brother didn't get healed?
I'm so glad you asked me that, because one of the first thing that people need to realize is that miracles are real. And the mystery of why some aren't healed does not in any way change the fact that someone has received a miracle. So it is very important that we're not asking the question, if healing is real, how come everybody isn't healed? Because people are healed. So what we don't know is why some aren't. And I remember Catherine Kuhlman saying this. She said, when I get to heaven, that's the first question I'm going to ask God. Why weren't some or more healed? So what I'm going to do is this. I don't know the answer to that question, but I do believe that there are several scriptures in the Bible that would increase the number of people who are being healed. I think that we can have more miracles than we are seeing now if preachers would pay the price, and they would understand that there are more and more and more. I lost my brother last November. He was the godliest man, the greatest influence on my life. And when he passed away, it was sudden, and I couldn't figure it out. And you can imagine the extreme emotions I went through, because here I am in a tent watching people healed of the very thing my brother did not get healed of. But again, that doesn't change the fact that miracles happen. And that we're instructed in the Bible. If any of you are sick, call for the elders of the church in James chapter 5, and the prayer of faith will save the sick. I think we can see a tremendous increase of miracles in the church in the modern era because of the groping of so many people to know God. But I wish I could answer that. These occasional mysteries that baffle the mind, and we wonder why.
Yeah. And you know what? The interesting thing is I also do have a proof of a miracle, because my father, when I was, 12 or so, got in an accident, and literally his back had been severed. He crushed 3 discs and 2 vertebrae. So they had to do an operation. They literally took those out and put a piece of plastic in there, okay? And they said, you're going to be disabled for the rest of your life. Well, years later, he's watching TBN of all things, and there was a preacher there that was praying for healing, and he told, this is late at night, and my dad's already in bed, and the preacher said, if you want healing, stretch your hands out, and, God will touch you. He did that. Do you know that he got healed? And it's not just that he said he got healed. Years later, he gets hurt again, not badly, but he gets hurt again. He goes to the doctor, they take x-rays, and he tells them that he has a piece of plastic in there. And they looked at him like, what?
You got to love it.
They didn't believe him because he had the full spine. That's a miracle.
That's a miracle.
So I've experienced a real miracle, and I've experienced one where I think God just decided, you know what, it's time for me to bring your brother home. He's got some work to do here. So anyway, how can people, get their tickets, or how can they go see this movie?
Simple. They go to a website that is I am living proof, themovie.com. I am living proof, themovie.com. And they'll immediately find a link to purchase, and actually find out it's in 600 theaters, which is remarkable. It is a remarkable. It is a breakthrough film in the Christian market. It's braving a whole new frontier of dealing with divine healing in an artistic and compelling. The Gazette, which is a leftist paper, said the stories which seem unbelievable at first become real by the end. That's why you need to bring a friend to see this wonderful thing that has been put on film.
Absolutely. Well, I am living proof in theaters March 9th, 10th, and 12th. Mario, it was great seeing you again after so many years, man. Thank you for joining me on today's show.
Isaac, you're an old friend, buddy. Thank you for having me, and I'm going to see everybody at the movies.
Absolutely. Well, I got to tell you, I really enjoyed talking to Mario. We hadn't seen each other in a long time. And, it's nice to see, one of the things we talked about is how miracles are still happening today.
That's right. I mean, and isn't that funny? Because he talks about miracles that are happening, which you and I both know are. I've seen it in my life with my children and grandchild that was just born and other things. But we've got it with the first part of the show, House of David. I mean, that's God's miracle he did through David. So we're seeing from biblical times to modern times, God is still a God of miracles. And we've got two great examples of that in our show today on how God is doing miracles. And I love it because people will see that and get inspired to realize, okay, back then it happens, but with Mario, it still happens. And I love the ministries. I love the ministry. Isaac, you and I were around when they did tent ministries a lot, and they had the miracle healings, and we saw it, and it wasn't fake, it was real. And we've seen how God can move like that. And when you're witnessing it, it is powerful.
Yeah. And I mentioned to him during the interview, how I personally have experienced these miracles myself, especially with my dad. And I talked about my dad, how he had his vertebrae, busted. He lost 3 discs and 2 vertebrae, and they put a piece of plastic. Years later, he got hurt again. He went and took x-rays, and there was no plastic. They didn't even want to believe that he had the surgery because it was an actual, what do they call that, where it actually recreates? It's not just, I had a headache and now I don't anymore. I mean, this was a bone that was replaced.
Wow.
So I've experienced it. I have experienced it. It's wonderful.
Nathan, my son Nathan had the cancer, and when they found out that it went out of his hip bone, his sacrum bone, and they're like the 1.5 inch hole, and they went, well, it's not there. We don't know how it could grow their bone back because you didn't take medicine for that, but there was no scar, there was no hole. We've seen that. And then my grandson that was just born, and the miracle, 1 pound, and now he's 7.5 pounds and healthy and born at 26 weeks. I mean, God is a God of miracles, and I love that. It's still today, and we can have people like Mario talk about that and profess it. And,
absolutely.
We admire and love him and love his ministry for doing that.
I know. And he's going to be here in Conroe, where I live, I think in April, he said, doing some kind of dinner. He invited me to go to this dinner. I can't wait to see him in person. Oh, it was wonderful.
Yay.
Well, Holly, I know. That's it for today. Another great show, folks. I just want to remind you, check out our website, faithonfilmtv.com. That's faithonfilmtv.com. And follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Twitter, right? It's still Twitter. It's hard to tell now with X. Is X what became Twitter?
It's X and
Instagram. X and Instagram.
Jump on the board.
Follow us everywhere. Follow us everywhere you can find us at Faith on Film TV. Holly, see you next week.
Write to us at faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. That's faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Faith on Film TV. Also, go to our YouTube channel, Faith on Film TV, and hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications on our latest Faith on Film shows.